We start here this hour. The special provincial official funeral for the former Free State Safety and Security MEC Benny Kotsoane is currently underway. Now, Kotsoane died on Sunday at the age of 58. He served in the first democratic administration of the province as MEC of Local Government and Housing from 1996 until 1999. He later became MEC for Environmental Affairs and Tourism. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday instructed that the national flag fly at half-mast in the Free State until this evening. Here's SABC News reporter Makgala Masiteng with a live update for us. So, Makgala, it seems like proceedings are underway. Take us through what's happening where you are.
Thank you very much, Polisi. Indeed, the service is underway, and speaker after speaker, what I've heard many of them talking about, attributing it, of course, to the former MEC here in the Free State, Benny Kotsoane, was his role in the local government. In fact, it is said that even during his passing, he was a specialized advisor to the MEC of Kokta currently here in the province. As you have indicated, of course, he was, he's been leading various portfolios from 1996 until 2005 in various portfolios, including that of local government and human settlement, but also the environmental affairs, as well as community safety. Then it was called safety and security. But besides that, he also he was in government where he was Director General in the Department of Human Settlement under the minister, or rather former Minister of Human Settlement, Lindiwe Sisulu. In fact, some of the people that I've been talking about Benny Kotsoane looking into his role were indicating just his expertise, and of course that is coming from how he was groomed, because he was one of the youngest here in Botshabelo who joined and became one of the activists when they were fighting then before rather in apartheid. But I want to bring in one of his friends and also former MEC here in the province, but just to talk about his role and how you have known him. You did say earlier on that he was a true militant. What are you referring to when you say that?
I refer to Benny Kotsoane as a real combatant, a militant combatant, meaning he fought along strategic lines, he fought tactically, and if you look at the battles that he has fought, they are unparalleled, unmatched. Benny, he was the first president of the Botshabelo Civic Association, being young at about 21, and the youth asked him instead to go that side because the parents at that time were not brave enough. So that's why I say he's been a combatant in his fight against apartheid, for land, for forced removals, for education, for health. That's where you see his militancy. The first ever health facility inside of Botshabelo was organized by him next to his advice office. They organized Medicine du Monde, international organization, to come and provide health here. Whereas at that particular time, there was a small clinic, no doctors, no nurses. Further on, he organized the advice offices and then became part of the propaganda machinery that led the campaign against incorporation of Botshabelo into Qwaqwa. And how he did that, you'll marvel at, because that's where we saw his vast knowledge of law, vast knowledge of strategies taking shape. And he was a propagandist, because the three of them used to come to my house to print all the pamphlets that normally once a week were thrown throughout Botshabelo, mobilizing the whole society. And at the end, they led to one of the biggest march ever in South Africa, of close to 1 million people who were standing up against forced removals. How he did that? He took every church, every school, every street, everybody, people came from all angles to attend that march. And when we arrived at the commissioner who was in charge of Botshabelo at the time, the numbers were astronomical. You would think that is the movement of during the biblical times. The next day, Rand Daily Mail had a small article about that. But BBC International Radio had covered that at the 11 o'clock news reading. So Benny was that he was behind, he was in front, he was on all sides of the battle.
Talk to us about his role in local government. I've heard many of the speakers, they are mostly referring to his expertise and his involvement in that regard.
Yes. Benny, his initiation in the civic association, he was, as I said, the president of Botshabelo Civic Association, and when we merged, and he became the secretary, the regional secretary, and Benny became the founding executive member of SANCO. At that particular time, we had already begun the process of discussing post-apartheid South Africa, post-apartheid local government, and then that's where we were pushing very hard that we need to put up human settlements that were projecting the kind of life that we are striving for. Not this Botshabelo, which were labor reserves, not townships where people are dumped. And we can give you examples of during the 1986 Defiance campaign, when people in Gauteng were jumping into buses and all of those things. Here, instead, we went to occupy land that was reserved as a buffer zone to separate black and white, white and colored, colored and black, and so on. And we said, as we were setting up those, that we're not setting up squatter camps, but we're putting up townships of the future. As I speak to you now, they are standing. In Bloemfontein, we talk about Freedom Square. We talk about Teflachte. We talk about Joslovo. We talk about Oliver Tambo. And we call them squares. Why? We're saying those were the first liberated squares of our land. That is what we mean. And from there, when transition came, Benny, myself, and others, we were the ones that were negotiating transition from apartheid government, black, white, colored, to transitional local government. And also from transitional local government into a post-apartheid government. And we were involved in a number of committees that were addressing the new legal framework for new local government system.
Just lastly, are you happy with the current level of local government, what is happening now with what you are talking about?
No, certainly no, because where are the new human settlements of post-apartheid South Africa, where we have people that we have put with all developed sites? When you talk about developed sites, you talk about water, running water, sewage, electricity, street network that is cut with lights. Now, show me one that we have built since post-apartheid South Africa. And today, we see the expansion of informal settlements. Benny's strategy was, before you can put up an informal settlement, let's rather pack those sites. Put each site a water, right? And then we put a pit latrine, so that our people are not forced to live like in the apartheid era. And then you used to put time frames for how long can people live like that. Today, we don't see. I can't remember the number of houses that were built last year.
Thank you very much. Because of time there, I have to go back to the studio. Policy, just briefly, that's what he is talking, of course, referring to the former MEC Benny Kotsoane that is being laid to rest today.
All right, that's Makgala Masiteng watching that story for us. Thanks very much indeed for that update.